Hey, I'm Jared. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects in the entire AI space, and that is open source models. So what do I mean when I say open source models? You've probably heard the term open source before. In tech, it generally means software whose code is publicly available for anyone to look at, modify, and share. And this concept applies to large language models as well. This video will act as an introduction to open source AI. So let's get started. Open source AI models are developed and maintained by a community of developers, enthusiasts, researchers, and even big companies as well. So I want to talk about Llama, which is an open source family of models created by Meta, by Facebook. And they took a big risk here by open sourcing everything, putting all of their AI code and models online for everyone to look at, to understand, and to replicate. And this collaborative approach leads to rapid developments in the entire AI space. And it keeps open source models up to date with its closed source counterparts. So what's the difference between open source and closed source models? Going back to popular LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. These are closed sourced frontier models created by big companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google. They're the top of the top. They're updated frequently, they have the most advanced features, and they have a lot of resources behind them. Money. And being frontier models, they're often released with different versions, sizes, and flavors for both the developer community and the consumer alike. So each big company has its fleet of frontier models, always pushing the needle forward, forcing the competition not only to catch up, but to release something newer, something better. And while this is great for us, for the consumer and developer alike, because we're getting new technology, closed source models also have their drawbacks. So let's go over the drawbacks of closed source models. 1. It's a black box. We have no idea what's going on in there. We can't see or modify the source code or the model weights, and this lack of transparency is a problem for researchers, developers, or anyone that's trying to understand or customize these models. 2. Privacy concerns. When we use these models, we're sending our data to their servers. And this might be fine for casual chats, but what happens if you care about your data? If you have confidential business information, or what about sensitive health data? There is no knowing what happens to our data once it leaves our devices. Theoretically, it could be used to train other models, sold to third parties, or worse. 3. Cost. Whether you're paying for a subscription or making API calls, it starts to get expensive, especially for pro users and businesses. This is where open source models come in. They're often nearly on par with frontier models in terms of features and capabilities. And while they may not have the latest features, they're often very quick to catch up. So what are the benefits of open source models? 1. Transparency. We can see the source code and the model weights. We can learn from them, modify them, and even re-release them as our own. 2. Privacy. Many of the smaller versions can run locally on your computer or server, meaning they never leave your machine. They never touch someone else's cloud. 3. Cost effective. If you're running it locally on your own computer or server, it's free to use. And if you're not running it locally, it's much cheaper to use inference services like Grok. Besides Meta's Llama, there are thousands of open source models you can download and look at and use on sites like Hugging Face. Now I'm going to briefly show you how I use open source models on my machine. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how you could set it up yourself. Some of the tools I like and use right now are Ollama, WebUI, and Continue.dev. And these are ways to download models, how to interact with the models, and even use them in coding environments. Okay, so I just want to briefly show you Hugging Face. And Hugging Face is a place where you can see millions of open source models and data sets. It's really great. So you just click on models here. So now we're on the models page. You can see there's over 1 million models, and you can filter models by multiple different parameters. You see multimodal models, computer vision, natural language processing, audio, it goes on. But what I really want to show you is Ollama. So this is Ollama, and Ollama is how I run open source models on my computer. And it's available for Mac, for Linux, and also for Windows. So once you've downloaded Ollama, you could click on the models page and download any model that works on your computer. The new Llama 3.2 models, 1B and 3B, both run great on my computer, and so does the 8B. So let's say I wanted to download a model. I just press it, and here's just the terminal command I could run. Ollama run Llama 3.2. Let's do the 1 billion parameter model, which is tiny. And it should work on most computers. So we just copy this. We open up our terminal, paste that in, just like it says right there. I just copy it by pressing this button, press enter. And now we're pulling that open source model. So it takes some time to download. Again, this is a smaller model, so it should go a bit quicker. So the model will finish downloading. And I just want to show you that you can chat with the chatbot like ChatGPT on my computer. What's the capital of Thailand? If you're watching this with someone, you know what to do. Okay, so I just showed you how to run Ollama in your terminal, but that doesn't really feel like ChatGPT. So now I'm going to show you Open WebUI. This is something that's running locally on my computer. And what's great about Open WebUI is it's kind of like a ChatGPT interface, but I could download extensions, I could download tools. Up here, I could select a model, and I've downloaded several. And this includes my closed source models, which are connected to Open WebUI, as well as my open source models, Llama 3.1, Llama 3.2, Llama 3.2 3B, which is a bigger version than the previous one, Mistral, Phi, Qwen, Starcoder. So these are all open source models, and I run them together. I could run them offline. I could put documents in there. They have tools where I could have it touch the internet as well. I could do a web search. It's really cool. So I just showed you how to download open source models via Ollama to run those models in your terminal, and how to use Open WebUI to actually interact with those models in an interface similar to ChatGPT. I want to show you one more thing, and that's how to code with open source models. So here's a coder, Qwen 2.5 coder. Now I'm going to show you how I could use Ollama models within VS Code. And this is a replacement for things like Cursor, which is a great tool, but costs money. So we're going to open VS Code. First thing you do is you download an extension called Continue. Now I'm going to talk to this chatbot, the one I just downloaded, Qwen 2.5 coder. And I'm going to have it code me the snake game, not connected to the internet. Now this is just an example of the things you can do with open source models. As you see here on the right side, it's just writing all the code. And we'll test this out in a second. Okay, so code finished generating. And let's try and run it. And it created Snake. Look at this. I didn't connect to the internet. I didn't use Claude or ChatGPT. This is just an open source model on my computer created this. So this is just a few examples of what you can do with open source models. We'll get into more detail in other videos. I just want to show you how I can use open source models to generate text, to do coding, to do multiple things on my computer without connecting to the internet, without paying a third party. Open source AI is not just a trend, it's shaping the future of AI development. I really think this is the future of democratizing AI, not only making it accessible for everyone, but one of the ways that businesses and individuals can leverage AI without being limited for various reasons. And as these models continue to improve, I'm sure we can expect to see more innovation and adoption throughout various industries. As great as open source models are, I would be lying if I said that's all that I use. I still use Claude, ChatGPT, and Perplexity on a daily basis. Using the most up-to-date frontier models definitely has its benefits. So that's it for our intro to open source models. I hope it helped you understand what open source models are and when they're beneficial. If you have any questions or feedback, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and have a great day.